Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And you want to just announce that number?
Yeah, I would just like to note that the school committee will hold this meeting virtually with members attending in person and/or remotely. No public attendance will be permitted for this meeting. To listen to the meeting at the above date and time, you can tune into WMCT-TV TV. You can also stream it from the website, Channel 8 or Channel 34. For the public participation portion of this meeting, members of the public may provide comment by dialing 508-460-3503, extension 10121, and that is during the public participation portion of this meeting. Again, you can dial 508-460-3503, extension 10121, and we will put the slide with the number back up during the public participation part of this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And with that, presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to invite Andy Burnaby, he's the director of the Early Childhood Center, to discuss some students who had a wonderful experience with a 1,000-book program before kindergarten. Mr. Burnaby, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, school committee, for this opportunity, especially during this time. Usually we have more than the 5 students that we have today, but I'd like to recognize the 5 that we do have that completed the 1,000 books before kindergarten program. I'd also like to acknowledge my home and school program for really helping out with this. They have been humongous throughout this in my 5 years here, and they continue to be very helpful with this. So I'd like to say the students' names now if I could. Luke Cato, Nora Crowley, Alexander Fincham, Madeline King, and Rebecca May. All of them completed the 1,000 books before kindergarten program. Like I said, I think we would have had many more if we didn't have to deal with this pandemic. I'm sure that there were some that we missed along the way, so I want to apologize to any of those families if we did.
Thank you, Andy. And the recommendation is for the school committee just to acknowledge the children and families for that accomplishment. So, Andy, I want to thank you again for being available tonight to list off the students who did that. And I'm sure when we get back in person, we can give them their certificates and medals.
Mike, if there's just one more thing I could say.
Go right ahead, Andy.
I just want to thank you and the school committee publicly for everything that you've done throughout this process. You and your cabinet, Mary, Doug, Tom, Patty, Jody, everybody has been just so supportive to all of the rest of the administration, to the teachers, to the families, to the students. I also want to take this opportunity to thank school committee for their support throughout this as well. I know I'm speaking on behalf of the rest of my colleagues, but you guys have been absolutely amazing throughout this process, and I wouldn't want to work for any other people. So I just want to publicly thank you guys for that.
Well, thank you very much, and again to the students, we want to congratulate you. Obviously, it's a lot more fun when we have them here in front of us, and there's a lot more of them, and we get to take that picture. But congratulations to those students, and thank you, Andy, for your words.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
Mr. Caruso.
Yeah, for the old newbie on the board here, but Andy, mind just filling a little bit of what this program is, because I'm not that up on it.
Sure. So we actually started some of our students are here for 2 years. Some of them start when they're 3, and it gets going right in that first year they're here. So it goes over a course of 2 years where they have a chance to read over 1,000 books. We partner with the public library in Marlborough, and we also have our home and school connection runs the day-to-day basis of it, which is book bags to go home with at least 10 books in them, and we keep track of how many that the families read that way. So it's really a humongous project, which the teachers and myself would not be able to do without our home group.
Thank you. I thought that those in the public are aware what it was. They should know what this means. It does mean a lot. Thank you, Andy, for your work.
Thank you.
Ms. Hennessy.
Thank you. Andy, I just wanted to say thank you very much for all you've been doing and this program. Honestly, I have to say, from a parent perspective, reading is one of those things that you wish that you can just instill in your child right away. And I had a hard time with my readers, shall I say. So the idea that these kids have really persevered, and probably with the support of their parent, is amazing. And I guess a little bit of a challenge out there I would offer. Wouldn't it be nice if some of your kids, even though they're moving on to kindergarten over the next 2+ months, continue to keep on pushing to get to that 1,000 books, because some of them are probably really close. And it would be really wonderful if at the start of school, we could actually see a list that kind of grows closer to what you normally end up having, giving them a couple more months to work on it. But amazing work, and hopefully more families can continue to keep on supporting the love of reading. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And, that would be great if we could keep track of that. So I will definitely talk to home and school and see if we can keep that going over the summer.
Thanks, Andy.
Any other comments, questions from the school committee members? Seeing none, thank you, Andy. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to give the committee notice that there could be changes to the school year based on guidance from the commissioner, and the school year calendar may need to be changed again in the near future. I know we just voted this, so I wanted to try to give you some updated guidance as we move forward. If there's any change to the 180-day standard school year, if that's altered, there may be another calendar version to approve, which leads me into my next topic. I would like to post the following dates as summer meetings for the school committee: July 14th, July 28th, and August 11th. Obviously, we all understand that different plans for families may take you away from a meeting, but in this remote environment, we hope that even you could watch the meeting or catch up if you had to miss it. But based on the nature of the work we're doing right now, I may not have a specific superintendent's report for every meeting, but instead an update on the progress of our reopening as a whole, and really have that be the focus of our work. I like to be flexible in the times of the meetings and not necessarily have to have them start at 7:30. So that is my request to the school committee, if you'll consider it. And I would like to post those meetings for the summer, and obviously, depending upon all of your calendars, if you can make it. Some good news. Congratulations to the following students for their efforts in the National Latin Exam at Whitcomb. Cum laude and magna cum laude winners: Zach Frazier, Devin O'Rourke, Blake Lupian, Evan Doobie, Jonathan Morales, Tiago Someo, Trevor Watson, LaGrace Parker, Therese Costco, Clarissa Bolanos Cruz. Silver medal winners: Anderson Ryan, Evan Davies, Janelle Zepeda, Melody Ashman, Ryan Sweeney, Scott Brady, Janthony Rivera, Sean Highland. And the gold medal winners: Emma Fordero, Lou Lorenco, and Violet Wren. Congratulations to all those students for their great work, and thank you to one of the school committee members for reminding me about this, and also to Mr. Daniels to getting this information over to me in a very quick manner. Our reopening guidelines. Based on conference calls, we were expecting reopening guidelines from the commissioner this week. That now seems to be delayed till Thursday. There's considerable anxiety among students, faculty, and parents over these decisions. My commitment is to develop plans that work for Marlborough and that we focus on making sure our schools are ready for the fall. Donations. I'm including a report on donations, grants, and gifts for you to view at your leisure. I sincerely appreciate all of the donations from local businesses and citizens to support our mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions from the school committee? Any questions from the committee? Ms. Hennessy?
Thank you. Really just more a comment of support in regards to the opportunity to have the meetings planned onto the schedule. To the superintendent, I really appreciate that so that we can stay on top and in touch with what's going on, and as well use the opportunity to inform the community. So thank you very much.
Any other questions? Mr. Crusoe?
Yeah, in terms of the opening guidelines, Superintendent, I'm curious, how detailed are these guidelines? Because what's been coming out lately has been really pretty nebulous in terms of anything particular. And what are we basing anything in particular on? I mean, everything that comes out seems to be based on just the standard classroom thing. And we have a lot of non-standard type classrooms like music classrooms, phys ed type things. And none of these seem to be hitting at any of that type of a level. And I'm just curious, are they talking about any of that sort of thing? Or are they just sort of assuming everything is just a normal, 16 kids in the classroom type situation?
I think, Mr. Crusoe, what they are focusing on is the space distance between kids and our faculty, as opposed to looking at a classroom and trying to fit a model for a classroom, because every single community has different sized buildings and classrooms. So my belief is that they're working on guidance that has more to do with the distance between students as opposed to, at an 800 square foot or an 1,100 square foot classroom. These are the guidelines. I do believe there will be some specificity in those guidelines that do come out this week that help us start to plan for the fall. So I wish I had more information for you. There was supposed to be some guidelines put out today. We just have to wait a couple more days till Thursday. And when we get them, my assumption is that they're going to be public. So I think everyone should recognize that we are working on our end in the background to continue our planning. And that is a message that I sent out to parents today, specifically to let them know what we have been doing while we wait for the guidance in securing PPE and making sure we are ready for the fall.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the public understands that the Department of Education, Secondary Education is doing its thing, but you guys are doing a lot more work in the background than they understand. And I just want people to know that that's been going on and going to continue. And you guys are working really hard. And the thing doesn't just end with the guidelines from the state.
Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The CARES Act was signed into law on March 27, 2020. It includes the elementary and secondary schools emergency relief funds to help K-12 educational entities prevent, prepare for, and respond to impacts of COVID-19. Funds may be used for a wide variety of purposes, such as educational technology, supplies and services that enable remote learning, assessing student learning gaps to inform teaching and addressing these gaps, planning and implementing summer learning and supplemental after-school programs, providing principals and other school leaders with resources to address individual school needs, training and professional development for district staff on any topic from effective remote learning strategies to sanitation and minimizing the spread of infectious disease when in-person school resumes, supplies and services to sanitize district facilities, personal protective equipment, and planning and coordinating during long-term closures, including how to provide meals, technology for online learning, guidance for carrying out IDEA requirements, and providing educational services. We identified priorities for this funding. Those priorities were LPNs for each K through 12 building. This is a 1-year expense. Stipends for a team to set up new Chromebooks and iPads for remote learning. Stipends for Marlborough High School summer and school year after school or Saturday school. These programs are not supported through Title I. Stipends for remote planning and training. Instructional technology, which includes iPads, Chromebooks, 200 hotspots, filters, software, licenses, and substitutes. We're planning for COVID-related absences. We will be required to report to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education on a quarterly basis regarding these projects supported with CARES Act funds. These reports will include the amount spent on each project and information about any subgrants or contracts. Any questions?
Question, Ms. Matthews?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess a question I have regarding the use of funds. I know there's been a little bit of vagueness when it comes to what it can be used for and so on, but things like any modifications that we have to make to the buildings, I know the equipment already is being classified in Munis as that, but you know, doing the plexiglass partitions or even additional bus routes, if we had to do that, would that fall, do we think that would fall under this?
So I don't know, I think I'm gonna ask Mr. Diaz to jump in because this was, we planned this together, looking at other areas that we had funding and identifying areas that we wanted to supplement and make sure that we had some priority fund. So Mr. Diaz, did you wanna say anything about the transportation?
Absolutely. So we did look at transportation, and I believe there was a possibility, but we prioritized the other areas that Ms. Murphy mentioned. In regards to the plexiglass, I would put that under almost a PPE acquisition. And if we haven't purchased much of that yet, we have some, but not a widespread purchase, and that could potentially be under the CARES Act that's being managed at the city side right now. There are some accounts that were created and some PPE acquisitions made through those accounts.
And I'm
Great,
sorry,
thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, can I jump in?
Well, my understanding is that the CARES Act does not cover any improvements. In fact, there were questions about the plexiglass and everything else, but I agree with Mr. Diaz. We're going to put in all that with the FEMA reimbursement, but we were told that any improvements, any real estate or leasehold improvements do not qualify for the reimbursement for the CARES Act. So, you know, we're going to be pushing it. We're still trying to get clarification. We're still hoping that we get to use it for revenue losses as opposed to just expenditures in excess of the budgets, which is what it is right now.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to mention is I appreciate Doug and Mary taking a look at this and identifying these priorities, but we have a learned experience with these types of funds. So it wasn't so long ago that we don't remember what happened in 2008, 2009, and 2010. And every district in the Commonwealth received SF funds, which were to, create a fiscal stabilization, but those were one-time funds. So if you look at the priorities we're laying out here, none of this is going to create an operational budget hole going into going further into FY22. And that's something that I think we all learned from the last time we had an issue with the economic, recession and times like this, is that we want to be very careful that whenever we get these one-time grant funds, we want to invest them in one-time sources and not try to pay for ongoing operations. The other thing, and to mention for Ms. Matthews, you brought up a really good point about busing. We're going to know a lot more about busing once we start to get some of the guidance. It is an area that also I believe that we can try to work with our contractor I think we've established a very strong relationship with our contractor over this period of time. So I believe there may be some ability for us to work with the contractor to help with defray some of those costs. But really what we need first is the guidance. But what we do know, in looking at this list, is the LPNs are going to be vital to supporting our health offices. Our nurses are going to be called upon to do a lot, and they're going to need assistance during this 1 year to be able to manage everything that's going on in the schools and help families as well. We know that a lot of the Chromebooks and iPads that we've recently sent home, we know that some of them won't come back, or they potentially, we're going to have to replace them because they might be damaged. That happens every single year. And what we do have to do is make sure that we can provide an environment, if we have to go to a remote learning, that every student can have access to a device. Beyond the access is the connectivity. The hotspots will give us an ability to give that connectivity to students and make sure that they can get there. And I just want to also mention that I appreciate Ms. Bowden-Henninger. She has been advocating for us with our state representatives to see if there's anything that they can do as well to provide us additional support above and beyond this. So this is kind of a first step, and these are things that we identified that no matter what guidance comes through, we know we're going to need these items, because there is going to be, regardless of what the, Beacon Hill and DESE and everyone else comes up with, we're definitely going to need to replace our technology, support our health offices, and get connectivity for students who unfortunately have not had reliable connectivity over this period of time. So, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I went long there, but appreciate the time.
Ms. Hennessy.
Thank you. Just a quick question about some of the LPN. Is it possible that if we are fortunate and am able to do some of the extracurricular activities, such as music or athletics after school, that the LPNs may be able to help at specifically the middle school and the high school with any additional medical issues that we may need addressed?
We'd have to look at that as an opportunity. Generally, the contracts we set up with our LPNs are hourly, so it's not out of the realm that we couldn't do something along those lines. We just generally try to stay away from the overtime issues.
Understood. Thank you. I just concerns about how much may have to be placed on the athletic trainer, although we are so fortunate to have an athletic trainer. The idea of trying to make sure we are covered both at the middle school and high school appropriately, it would be great if we could figure in potential hours for the LPNs, at least to cover in both of those schools around athletics. So thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Any other questions? Seeing none. Minutes of the May 26, 2020 school committee meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Ms. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowden-Henninger?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. They are approved. On the minutes for the June 9th, 2020 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Ms. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowden-Henninger?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. Public participation.
Doug, if you don't mind, can you put that slide back up?
Sure.
And I'd like to just read that again. For the public participation portion of this meeting, members of the public may provide comment by dialing 508-460-3503, extension 10121. Again, that phone number is 508-460-3503, extension 10121.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to participate? Is there any public participation?
While we're waiting for a phone call, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to let the public know that if you send me an email to superintendent@mps.edu.org, I'm happy to read those out if you send me an email as well. So,
Thank you. Anyone from the public want to be heard? Seeing none, action items, MHS soccer route, out-of-state day trip.
thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've invited Jeff Radzinski to come here tonight just to, as we did at the last meeting, discuss a potential out-of-state day trip for soccer if our information that we get from the state allows us to have this trip go on. We understand that right now restrictions are, Mr. Mayor, I'm getting a call for public participation. Can I take it? Okay. Bear with me 1 second. Thank you for calling the Marlborough School Committee meeting. Your public participation is now live.
I was just calling with a quick question, wondering if the new school will be open anytime this summer so the public can go and see what our tax dollars have done.
Sure. Thank you for asking that question. Yes, we are planning on having the new school open this summer. As we have restrictions lifted, we are looking forward to doing tours of it. The tours will probably be a limited basis, and they won't be the whole school with multiple groups at once, but we are planning on having the school open so the public can come in and see exactly how wonderful that project has been. Thank you for that question.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good?
I think we're good.
Good. Good job.
Sorry, Mr. Radzinski.
Throw us off a little bit there.
I
I would
it ringing.
entertain a motion that we approve this based on the same recommendation, that we approve it based on a final decision being made by the superintendent when time gets closer. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Is there any discussion on the motion? The motion is to approve by the committee with the final determination being done by the superintendent as the event becomes closer. I'll call a roll. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Ms. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowden-Henninger?
Yes.
Ms. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, it is approved.
Thanks for coming, Mr. Radzinski.
Thank you.
Superintendent evaluation, Ms. Bowden-Henninger.
So, Mr. Chair, unfortunately, I've not received all of the evaluations from committee members, so I am going to ask to table this to the next meeting.
There's been a motion made and seconded to table. I'll call a roll. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Ms. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowden-Henninger?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, it is approved. We'll table it until the next meeting. Ms. Hennessy?
Thank you. I just actually wanted to say thank you for Ms. Bowden-Henninger for trying to stay on top of all of us to get things done. And I would just really ask the full committee that within the next week, please, please, please get everything to Ms. Bowden-Henninger to make sure that we can pull things together. I recognize that we all have a lot going on, myself included, but I know that we don't need Michelle to have anything more on her plate. And we also need to give due diligence to the superintendent for him to hear our thoughts and comments about things. So I'm trying to help you out, Michelle, because you don't always have to sit on everyone's neck to try and get things done. So anyway.
Thank you, Mrs. Hennessy. And through Chair, may I speak? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I hope that the superintendent does not think that it's for lack of caring about it. I know people have busy times, but if people could get it to me sooner rather than later, I would really appreciate it.
No offense taken, Mr. Mayor.
The superintendent does not seem upset about it. But, Mrs. Bodenhanger, would you like to tell them what you received from me?
Actually, the chair was the second completed one that I received. So
Just wanted to clarify that I'm like way ahead of schedule this year.
yes, very impressed.
And it only took prodding 3 times from you, though. Thank you very
Mrs.
much for
Ryan
your
was
work
number
on
one.
this.
Mrs. Hennessy gave me half of one. I sent it back and made her finish it.
Huh?
Mrs. Ryan was number 1 and the chair was number 2.
I was done. You said you had extra time.
All right, policy for removal, policy 6.210, tutoring.
Thank you very much. So policies are moving forward. Policy 6.210 for tutoring. We were looking for actually this to be removed from our policies because this was prior to the conflict of interest. And we really don't need to have a specific policy within our books anymore. So I'd like to make a motion for removal.
Motion made and seconded to remove policy 6.210, tutoring. Any discussion? Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
just to point out on the actual policy, it does say that teachers shall not instruct or tutor for private compensation any members of the classes without written permission of the superintendent. Just to let the school committee know, I can't give written permission because it's against the law. So when we look at this policy, the Mass General Law around the conflict of interest particularly deals with the issue of tutoring students who are in your classes. And we also have to, on a biannual basis, take a conflict of interest and then turn it into the HR office. We actually take the test and turn it in. So I feel like we are well covered in removing this policy. I just wanted to point that out in case anyone had any concerns.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Ms. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Bodenhanger?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, policy is removed. Policy 3.500, review of private school applications.
Thank you very much. So if you remember our last meeting, we have policy 3.500, private school review, for you to actually review. And I did not hear any comment back on this. I'm hoping that it's going to move forward, so I make a motion to approve.
Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? I'll call the roll. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Ms. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Bodenhanger?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, it is approved. Policy 6.160, substitute teachers.
Thank you very much. So tonight I'd like to make a motion for approval of policy 6.160. That was a minor amendment that Ms. Matthews had given me, and you see them noted in this policy that is within your packet. So I'd like to make a motion for approval. substitute
Motion
teacher.
made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Ms. Hennessy?
Yes?
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowden-Henninger?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, it is approved. Policy 6.17, supervision.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion for approval of policy 6.170, supervision. Again, this policy was on the last agenda for your review. Mrs. Matthews had made some minor amendments, punctuation and such, and you see that noted within this packet. So I'd like to make a motion for your approval of 6.170, supervision.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Mrs. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowden-Henninger?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, it is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I think you skipped me.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes as well. Yes,
I apologize. I even went down my
my
list.
feelings are hurt.
It is approved.
Thank you.
Acceptance of a donation from Richer School PTO to kindergarten classes, $4,817.58.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Mrs. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes,
Mrs. Bowden-Henninger?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Caruso?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, it is approved. Thank you very much. Reports of subcommittees. Ms. Hennessy?
Thank you. So although we do not have a date for our next meeting, we will be having another policy meeting coming soon so that we can continue to keep on updating. And should any of the committee members have something specific they feel like they would like us to make sure that we get eyes on, please do not hesitate to reach out to me to let me know. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other reports? Mrs. Matthews?
The negotiation subcommittee will be meeting virtually on Thursday to discuss some outstanding issues regarding some of our contracts.
Thank you very much. Any other reports? Seeing none, members forum. Any members want to be heard? Mr. Bergeron?
I know I'm not a member, but if you'd allow me just a moment. We got a couple calls after public participation ended. I just want to remind the public that you can always email me at superintendent@mps-edu.org. I'm happy to get back to anybody. I apologize that we missed some calls here. So feel free to email me, and if it's a public comment for the board, I'll be more than happy to bring it to the next meeting. So I just want to apologize if we missed a couple calls there.
Thank you very much. Members, Ms. Hennessy?
Thank you very much. So first of all, which I'm sure all of the members here are feeling, I would be really remiss if I didn't say a huge thank you to John Galoni. John Galoni has done so much on behalf of not only the city, but specifically the schools. And I can remember upon getting on the school committee and really feeling like he was the go-to guy. He made anything and everything happen to get it done for the best of the kids and the staff and he had so much pride in every single thing he did. And I'm sure he carried that over into his role for the city with the DPW. And I just wanted to say personally, a huge thank you. It's going to be hard to not envision John being around for being able to call him and say, hey, can you help me? Or did you see this? Or whatever it is. And I'm sure we will find a wonderful person to step up and help out. But I just want to recognize what an integral part John Galoni has been to being a part of this city and this wonderful community. And I'm sure he will not be not a part of this community, but in their wonderful role. And so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too want to say congratulations to Mr. Galani on his retirement. He will be missed. I also want to say thank you to our superintendent, our assistant superintendent, and everyone, every staff member who created the new way of learning, any way of learning. I gave you a lot of credit to begin with as teachers being on a stage every single day in front of a classroom to now have to reinvent yourself. And I want to thank our parents because I'm sure this was not easy. I cannot even imagine. I don't have a school-age child at home. I had a college child return and know how difficult that was. I hope we have some sort of plan put together that works for everybody. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be a lot of adjustments along the way, but I want to thank you for your patience over the last several months and hope that you understand that we're all doing our best, and especially every single member here at MPS to get our kids back in school safe, and hope everybody enjoys their summer.
Thank you. Ms. Bodenhedinger.
Am I on? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to reiterate what my colleagues have said. John Galoni, I can't even imagine the city without him. So whomever it is that winds up in that position, good luck. His mark is everywhere you turn in the city, and I'm sad to see him go, but I wish him the best. Being the last day of school, congratulations to all of the students, teachers, support staff, paras, bus drivers, food service people, everyone, and administrators. It's just been a wild spring, and we've gotten through it with grace. I want to appreciate the superintendent and your staff for just keeping us moving in the right direction and being creative. There were so many things that we were being, admired by other districts around the state, particularly around food service, because that got the biggest, press, as it should have, but also just jumping on the remote learning as early as we did was really impressive relative to, I know, a lot of districts around us. So aside from that, in other business, last time I presented a resolution that was, we thought, gonna be on the agenda, but forgot to get on the agenda. I have a second resolution that I sent out to people. Both of these resolutions are being presented to every school committee in the state to take up. I am going to request that one from the last meeting regarding COVID-19 and funding, as well as the one I sent out to everyone this week regarding taking stand on anti-racism, that both of them please be on the next agenda, and that folks will take the time to really read through them and that we can have a fruitful discussion. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hennessy.
So I'll echo everyone's thank yous to all of the administration and everyone across. I do want to include a special shout out to Ms. Rupal Patel, and she's going to throw something at me if she could. But I say that because Rupal, not only have you just done a bang up job in your own rights, but you've been a huge leader for the MEA, and from my standpoint, been a huge leader about collegiality and collaboration. And I truly appreciate that, and I know the administration feels that way. We've all been able to work together because of being able to listen to each other, appreciate the situations that we are in, and work to find solutions. And I think you've been a huge asset for the MEA, but for the district, and I appreciate your leadership. It's going to be hard not looking over and seeing you right there, but I'm sure I'll get a text from you later to be snarky with me later. But I really genuinely need to say, yes, thank you to everyone, but I do want to say thank you to you since you are stepping down from the presidency, not away from this district, but into another role. And you just have been stellar. So thank you for everything. And please, that patience word that's come up a few times tonight, I would just beg for everyone in our community and the staff and our students, everyone to have as much patience as we continue to move forward in this brand new world, because I think we're doing as best a job as possible, but we need to really work together to take the next steps to keep on moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Matthews.
One last thing, I will be signing the warrant.
Thank you. Anyone else? Entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. I'll call the roll. Mrs. Ryan.
First, okay, yes.
Mr. Caruso.
Yes.
Mr. Gary.
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews.
Yes.
Mrs. Hennessy.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowden-Henninger.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Peace out.